Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me once again today. I'm very excited to have this episode here because we're going to be looking at the second part of our virtual tabletops here. If you watched a couple episodes ago, hopefully you've been able to check out some of our other videos on the virtual tabletops. We did some investigation into the Roll20.net system and how it plays and how it functions as a tabletop for your gaming needs. In fact, I've been able to actually play quite a bit online with the Roll20. And I've been a player in a couple games. I actually DM'd like 4 or 5 games. And as you can see here, starting our own campaign here, A Darkening Sky. It's going to be a Forgotten Realms 5th edition campaign here. You can see I've already got 5 players, although there should be 6. One of them hasn't joined yet. So we'll be starting that off next Wednesday. We're going to be running it every week, every Wednesday. And I'm going to hopefully be recording it and posting that information online here on my YouTube channel. So be sure to check that out if you're interested in watching how Roll20 actually plays out with a bunch of players and campaign, and we'll see how that goes. Very excited about that. Got a lot of really good players, so they don't actually know yet that we're going to be recording this session, so it'll be kind of a surprise to them. Anyways, that was all the Roll20 information. Actually, just to let you guys know, I was able to just get on their little forums and post and say, hey, I'm going to start a campaign, or I'm going to start a one-shot, and literally had people coming out of the woodworks trying to actually get in the game. So didn't have any problem whatsoever finding people to play with. In fact, if we look at some of the posts here, no, we won't do that, but lots of people looking for games, lots of DMs, advertising games. Didn't have an issue with not filling up a game session at all. In fact, the last session I had, where some of these new players joined, actually, when I got the session done, I went back and checked the post, and then I had 7 more messages from people wanting to join. So I actually messaged them back, and let them know that our campaign was full, but we might be doing another campaign or another one-shot. So do look for it. So really good community, really helpful, and very having a good time with Roll20, and can't wait to start the campaign. Like I mentioned, next Wednesday we'll be recording it, and should be able to post those videos online, and you'll be able to check it out in action. As I mentioned in our Big 3 virtual tabletop video, there's basically 3 of these virtual tabletops we're going to be looking at. One, of course, is the Roll20, and we've done a couple episodes on that. The second one, of course, was the D20 Pro. I'm going to wait on that, as I mentioned, because that is currently on Kickstarter. So if you're interested in backing that program, it's another virtual tabletop. The reason I'm waiting on that is because once Kickstarter is over, I will automatically get an account and get access to the software, the D20 Pro software, and then of course when they come out with the D20 Pro Ultimate Edition, of course I will have access to that as well, but at least we'll get a chance to look at that. I think there's about 25 more days left on that, so make sure you get over there sometime in the near future to check it out, and hopefully you'll be able to back it as well. But we'll do some videos once I get a chance to get that license. And of course, last but not least, is what we're really going to be focusing in on in this episode and probably the next couple episodes, and that is Fantasy Grounds. As I'd mentioned in one of my previous videos, that once I start investing into virtual tabletops, I really want to look at a couple options and then decide which one of those options might be right for me. And the 3 options, as I mentioned, were Fantasy Grounds, Roll20 Pro, and of course, Roll20, and of course D20 Pro. or the three options we're going to be looking at. We already looked at the Roll20, so now we're going to be looking at Fantasy Grounds. As I mentioned, you can pick that up on Steam. Here is the information on the Steam website. And they have some really good videos here. I'll just play them in the background here as I talk. Some really good videos that kind of show you how things come along. Actually, the second video is really, really good. It kind of demonstrates what you can do and how things are done and shows you a nice combat example. If we scroll down, you can see that Fantasy Grounds was at Gen Con this year, 2014, from August 13th to 17th. So they're still around, still keeping this program up and alive. And of course, the one thing about Fantasy Grounds is that your purchase comes with, right there, compatible for Dungeons & Dragons 3.5, Dungeons & Dragons 4e, and Pathfinder role-playing game. Of course, that's built into the system, but we're going to talk a little bit more about that later. And of course, available are going to be additional rule sets that you can purchase. And of course, if you go to Steam, you can see there's a whole bunch of different rule sets and modules and icons, tokens, anything you could possibly need to get your hands on for your playing needs. So definitely check it out. Right now, the current price is $39.99 for a GM/player license. And basically that allows you to either DM a campaign and have other players that have a license join. You can upgrade to the Ultimate Edition, I believe, which is like $150, and you can have players that do not have a Fantasy Grounds license join you. Of course, you can buy a 4-pack for $120 if you have 4 players that you know that are interested in purchasing this. So you can get it for about $30 a person as opposed to $40. And of course, you might be able to wait until some Steam sale and see if it goes on sale then if you're trying to save a few dollars. So let's look at Fantasy Grounds, shall we? There is some information as I'm scrolling through. If you just want to pause the video and you can run it or read it. You can run the game as the game master. You can host games for other players and GMs. You can host a demo game for one player who is using the Fantasy Grounds demo. And I would highly recommend, once you watch my videos, to download the Fantasy Grounds demo and just play with it yourself. Of course, it won't save any information you put into it, but you're just demonstrating the functionality to prospective players. You can join the game as a player. You can create characters locally and take them with you to your game session. Additional rule sets and modifications. And of course, hundreds of built-in top-down tokens for monsters, characters, and animals. And of course, here is the system requirements that you need to be able to run this game. Alright, so let's actually delve into Fantasy Grounds and take a look at it. And like I mentioned, this is probably going to be a couple videos long to talk about everything we want to talk about. So here's the start screen here, as you can obviously see. As of this recording here, we are working on version 3.0.7, and of course, with that version, 5th edition has been updated to support the basic rules and the starter set rules. So that brings up a really good point to talk about with Fantasy Grounds. I've only had this software for a couple of days, but I will tell you it is very different than Roll20. There are many, many advantages and just some slight disadvantages between the two things. They definitely play different. They definitely act different, and that's why I kind of want to show you exactly how Fantasy Grounds, my personal opinion about Fantasy Grounds, and my personal opinions about Roll20 so far. And of course, like I mentioned, we will get into D20 Pro once that has been finalized with their Kickstarter. The first thing that I have to talk about with Fantasy Grounds is actually what system are you going to use this for? If you want to use this for 4th edition, 3.5 edition, Pathfinder, 5th edition. What edition? Do you want to be able to play multiple rule sets? Do you want to be able to play just one specific kind of rule set? That's where Fantasy Ground has an advantage and I guess a disadvantage over Roll20, in that you can play multiple different games with the rule sets. Of course, they will cost you if you don't play D&D 3.5, 4, and of course Pathfinder. If you don't play those, if you want to play, say, GURPS or Mutiny Mastermind or any of the other kinds of role-playing games, of course you're going to have to purchase an additional license for them, and they run about $15 to $20 for that rule set. But if you're like me and you're strictly play Dungeons and Dragons, then it comes to a matter of, well, what version am I going to play? What do I want to play? And 5th edition has just been released, so happy 5th edition to everyone out there. It was just released just a few days ago with the Player's Handbook, and so 5th edition is kind of in a flux. And what I mean by that is Wizards of the Coast has stopped since last December putting out any 4th edition material. There's no Dungeon magazine, there's no Dragon magazine, there's no new books, no new nothing. They've been focusing solely on 5th edition, which is great. I think they should have done that. The only problem with that is right now there is only one book out for 5th edition, which is, of course, the Player's Handbook. The Monster Manual will come out in about 3 more weeks, approximately 3 more weeks until it's released. And then the Dungeon Master's Guide will be released another month after that. So there's kind of a staggered start to 5th editions. And that kind of puts 5th edition in a flux because you can't actually get programs like Fantasy Grounds or Hero Lab or anything like that to actually update and keep, add in the new 5th edition, because there really isn't anything to add at this point. So there's kind of an influx into that. The second thing I will mention is if you plan on using Fantasy Grounds for 4th editions, first of all, it's great, absolutely wonderful, because 4th editions, for those players who play it or don't know, it's very rule intensive with all the different powers, giving people bonuses and penalties and saving throws and shifting and this and that and all that stuff that makes it very hard for a face-to-face game. Fantasy Grounds handles that really well inside the program. The only problem with that is when you actually go to create a new campaign or load a campaign for 4th edition, there's like no rule sets, rules and monsters and everything built into the actual game. The rule set's there, but there's nothing that says, oh, here's what a longsword is, here's what an orc is, here's what this power is. So you have to input all of that information. And what we're going to actually do, we're going to load a 4th edition campaign here that I've been just basically working on. And we'll hit the start button here. And you can see it's going to load up here. Now, with that said about 4th edition, if you get on the Fantasy Grounds forums like I did, you will be able to download all of the 4th edition material with what they call this 4E Parser. So basically it's a program that's going to scan the 4th edition material and be able to download it so you can add it to your Fantasy Grounds software. And I think the difference is basically 3rd edition was based upon the Open Gaming License and Pathfinder was based on that. And so that is included in the game because it's open license. 4th edition wasn't open license. So the only way to have access to the 4th edition stuff, of course, is to have a Dungeons and Dragons Insider account with Wizards of the Coast. If you do that, you can basically, I'll just show you an example here. We will we'll just do one for the players here, and it'll do like a little scan here, and you'll see it just start scanning the website here, and it's going to start looking for backgrounds, and you can see here it's looking for classes, it's looking for epic destinies. I mean, it's just basically scanning everything on the Wizards of the Coast website, basically in the compendium that relates to 4th edition. Once it gets done here, you'll see that it'll be able to show you how many items that it's actually come up with here. So you can see that this program, I mean, the guy who wrote this, I apologize, I don't remember his name, but has saved hundreds of people thousands of hours of time. I mean, I just can't say enough about the person that wrote this software package, because otherwise people would have to go in and say, okay, here's a longsword, this is what it does, this is how much damage it does, yada yada yada, and input all that information individually, and then that would just obviously you would need to just build it as you go. So if you need an orc, okay, I'm going to use an orc, and here's what their powers are, here's what their stats are, etc., etc., etc. And then you can input all that information yourself, and then you'll have it. But of course, you can do that. Alright, so it's done parsing. Basically, it scrapes the compendium for all the information. And of course, you can do this for player entries, and of course, you can add Dungeon Master entries as well. And you can see that it come up with all this information right here. So there's basically 3,271 feats that have been parsed and added, and you can see a big list down here at the bottom. You can see that there's over 9,000 power entries, 360 rituals, 77 class entries, etc., 577 paragon paths, 55 races, 116 themes. And then of course you're just going to download and parse the selected entries, and of course it's going to ask you to log into your DDI account. So again, you can't do this unless you have a DDI account. So I'm just going to cancel this, but you can actually see all the information that is being parsed here, and we're going to show you that here in just a minute. So let's just cancel out of that. So if I loaded a 4th edition campaign, I can actually go to the library here, and if I click on my modules, you will see the modules. The game doesn't come with this module and this module. Close that. Close. Thank you. Alright. So it doesn't come with those modules. So if I say I don't want to load these modules, when I go to NPCs and I say, okay, let's create a new monster. Oh, hey, let's search for orc. Uh-oh, there's nothing there. What the heck? That's not cool. What's going on here? Well, fortunately, if I go back to my modules here and I load up the Dungeon Master Guide and, of course, the Player's Handbook, all that information that's been... You got to click on it. Come on. You can do it. There you go. All that information that was parsed with that program is now available. What the heck is that button? Come on. Sure why. That's got a red X there. Certainly don't want to click on the red X. So now when we go back in and we say, okay, NPCs, let's see, let's look for an orc here. Oh, we got to go into... Oh, here we go. We go in the library here. There's our compendium here. So now when we go in, you will see all of the information. Again, I'm not a complete expert at Fantasy Grounds yet. I've watched some videos. I've followed along some of the tutorials that other people have out there, and I'm kind of trying to learn myself so I can pass on this information to you. If I go to the Dungeon Master's Guide, you will see that this is the information that I had parsed from the DDI compendium. So you can see I have monsters, 5,326 monsters. Yes, quite a few monsters. And in fact, if I now do a search for orc, yep, what happened? I have to go to monsters by level. There we go. Now I can do a search for orc. There we go. Sometimes it takes so long to load because there is just so much information. You can see all of this stuff here have the word orc in it somewhere, and I can simply click on any one of these, which we will do. Let's look at, say, the orc witch doctor. So I can click on this little button here, and voila! Instead of me having to input all of this information into the program, you will see, because of that 4E parser and the information that was drawn out of the compendium, it has inputted that information into the program. So I now have this program. So if you plan on using Fantasy Grounds for 4th edition, you definitely want to make sure you have a DDI account, and you definitely want to get the 4E parser, which you can just get on from the forum boards if you just do a search for 4E parser. And of course, but voila, we have the orc witch doctor, all the information about him. And Fantasy Grounds is a very powerful software package. It understands, now that I've downloaded the information, you can see that when I click on something, you can see that it highlights it there. When I actually just take this and roll it, you can see it's going to roll 3 plus 1 because it knows it's rolling a d6 and it's going to add 1. And I'm going 5 poison damage save ends, which we'll look at later on. If I'm going to do a ranged attack, let's just say ranged attack here, plus 6 versus fortitude. So I would just take the dice, roll the dice, and you can see 6 plus 16 is 22. And of course, you know, that's how you're going to get your dice rolls and stuff, but it's even better than that. So one of the big differences between Fantasy Grounds and, say, Roll20, Roll20 is got many advantages, and of course, very nice and easy. Like I mentioned, I was able to get in and play some games, find some games, you know, log in at 6 o'clock, look for a post to see if somebody's playing that night. Just post a message and say, yeah, I want to join in. And of course, it's very easy to add things and add icons and move things around and manipulate the game. But one of the advantages Fantasy Grounds has is it incorporates all of your 4th edition DDI information, and of course 3.5 edition, and of course Pathfinder as well. So if we look at what exactly does that mean, well, that means that let's just take a look here. So I brought up my little DDI account here, and I've got some nice characters. But let's say I need a new player character for our game here in Fantasy Grounds. Alright, well, that's simple here. I'm just going to actually go back to the home page here. I'm just going to build a nice, quick, easy guy. Really quick and easy here. Let's go for a damage character, play a striker, we'll play a warlock hexblade, sure. We'll do it with the Infernal Pact, we'll choose the drow, we'll give him a random name. Ooh, nice name even. Female, there we go. Customize character, view character sheet. Of course we can view the character sheet. There's our character sheet, already built in with all of our awesome stuff. So what we're going to do here is just go back to the builder, and we're going to save this character. And now when we go back home, you will see when we load a character, we should have our Shirva level 1 Drow Warblex Hexblade. So what I need to do is just simply go into let's load her just to make sure. Okay, so she's got some powers already selected. They already selected feats. Obviously, already got equipment. All that stuff. Okay, good. I just wanted to double check and make sure. So let's load her character here. And now that I've selected Shirva, I'm just going to export her. And of course, all I have to do, Shirva. And I'm just going to save it on my desktop for right now. And we're going to hit the save button. And you can see that right there, is our DDI 4th edition file, right? Yes. So what we're going to do now is we're actually just going to minimize that to get it out of the way. And we are going to go to the Fantasy Grounds character converter, which comes with the program. You just click that and it says, okay, you want to take a what? 4th edition, 3.5, or Pathfinder. We'll just say in this case we want a 4th edition character. We can use, of course, our Fantasy Grounds from another player, or of course our D&D Insider account. We're just going to select our file, which is going to be right here on our desktop. We're going to open it, and we're going to export it to an XML. And we're going to choose our desktop, and of course, Sherva, and we're going to hit the save button. And we're going to hit convert. And you'll see it does its little thing, and it'll be done. And of course, then I'm done with this character converter. And you can see the XML file right here. So now I've got two files on my desktop, and we want the XML document. So what we're going to do is just bring up characters here, and we're going to say, you know what, let's create a new character, but in this case we're going to import a character, which is this blue button, and all we have to do is find our XML server document, and we hit open, and voila, instantaneously it brings up the character. Now let's double click and take a look, and you can see all the information is put into the character sheet. So the 4th edition character sheet is built in with many tabs here. So you have a main tab that has all of your information, your combat tab, your skills, your abilities, your inventory, your notes, and your powers. And you can see all the powers that I have. Now, if we go back to combat here, actually let's go back to skills here. If I'm not sure what bluff does, I should be able to click on okay. That might be a bad example. Let's look at a different example, shall we? Inventory. So we got a chainmail armor here, right? Adventurer's kit. Well, what is included in an adventurer's kit? You see over here is this little square button, and normally for some reason it's like has this fancy red symbol, but for some reason mine are just gray right now, and I'm not sure what I did. I probably clicked on a button I shouldn't have when I was testing things out. But if I click this, you will see the information come up about the adventurer's kit. Now that might have been a bad example too. Let's look at the chainmail. Nope. Okay. If we go to powers though, I know I can do it with the powers. Let's look at Eldritch Bolt. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Maybe there just isn't any information upon the actual adventurer's kit. Maybe there isn't any. You can add flavored text, subclass, cost, the weight of it, enchantment, shield. Doesn't look like it gives you. Oh, here. Maybe this is what it is. Nope. Okay. Anywho, powers. Let's look at our powers here. Eldritch Bolt. We want to know what it does. We just click this little button here, and voila! All that information was parsed down inputted into the system. It's an at-will power. It targets one creature. Charisma versus reflex. And you can see again as I hover over these things, you're going to be able to just click on it and drag, and it'll drag a dice. You see that? So it'll just, okay, if I want to do damage, you see how it grabs the 10-sided dice. And of course you can use this power as a ranged basic attack, which doesn't actually do anything. It shows you the range. All the information you need to have at your fingertips. This isn't just for 4th edition, but the reason I'm showing you the 4th edition stuff is because if you're planning on using Fantasy Grounds for 4th edition, you're going to need to do just a little bit more work to get everything up and running. Of course, like I mentioned, you have to have a DDI account, a current account, and you could just log in if you don't have your account anymore, like me. And it's been a while since I actually had a DDI account. Last night I decided, I'll just sign up. So I signed up again and got my account. So it plays really well with all of your DDI stuff. So whether you're using the character creator, you're using the compendium or whatever, that's one of the advantages with Fantasy Ground. As you can see, this is like a window here that goes. I'm going to show you one of the other advantages. I'm actually going to take this and I'm going to expand it all the way out to my other window. So I'm running with 2 monitors right now. And you can see, let's just bring up some information here. You can't see what I'm actually clicking on, but I've got just working on some different things here. And you can see that I've got all kinds of windows open and yada yada yada. Well, one of the advantages with Fantasy Grounds is I can actually expand this desktop, and what I'm going to do is just pull it back over so you can see that all that information on my other screen here, I can just take all this information and kind of move it over and keep it still active on my other screen, but it's out of my main screen, so I can focus in on the important things that I'm going to be doing for the session. If we're basically working at images, of course, here's my little image, my map. You probably want to have your map open. You want to have your little chat window with your dice rolls open. You're probably going to have a combat tracker menu that you want to have open. And of course, you don't want this to be too cluttered up. The Roll20 can sometimes get a little cluttered if you got all that stuff on your screen and you can't expand it onto 2 windows like this. So that is one of the very cool, interesting parts. And of course, I can resize it, make it nice and big here. And of course, I could just expand, like I said, expand this out. I've got plenty of space. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 other windows open over here. And if I ever need them, I can just drag them back over here to my front screen, or I can use both of them very quickly and easily. And the reason this is because of this, let me slide this back over so you can see, is I like organization. I like to keep things organized. I don't like to, I like things that put in their proper place. It's easier for me to find things. And the way Fantasy Ground works is everything is linked together by a series of links. So for example, let me just close all these windows again. Close this for a second. Basically, over here there's a lot of just miscellaneous different things. You can make it look like nighttime. It kind of makes the screen all gray or whatever. You can make it look semi-cloudy. You can make it look like a campfire, all kinds of different things we'll look at later on. That's not really what I just want to go back to normal. How do I get back to normal? Is that normal? Semi-cloudy day. Can't tell if that's the same as it was. Apologize if not. I don't know how to switch it back. Anyways, your main things are going to be your characters here, which are going to be your PC characters. You're going to have your story, which is basically going to be an outline of your campaign, your adventure, whatever you're running here. And of course, then you have your images, which is probably hidden underneath one of these other windows. Hello. There we go. Images. I think we already have that window open. I think that's why it's giving up there. There it is. Right here's our image folder. Alright. And it's acting a little weird right now because I've got it like scrolled across 2 screens and it's not normally do that. So let me just slide this back onto one screen so you can see what I'm doing here. And you see it just auto resizes itself, moves everything together. Really quickly and easily. So of course I could have other things open in my other window. I could have my Skype chat window. I could have PDFs open. I could have anything I want on my other screen open, and just use this screen for my information for my PCs. Anyways, So you have your story here, of course. You also have your images. So here's my marsh crossing map. Here's an ocean cavern map. Whatever you import into there. Of course, you have your NPCs, which are going to be all your monsters and your non-player characters. Of course, from there, you're going to have your encounters. And you're going to have your items, and you're going to have your notes and your library, which we already looked at, and of course, your tokens. You can see I've actually created quite a list of tokens already, and we'll look at that when we look at the next episode. We'll talk about things. But basically, you can see, I'm just going to show you this quickly at the end of this episode, so we can start a new episode here in a minute. Well, here's our story. So I'm going to do a campaign, and maybe the first part of the adventure is this town of Hillsfar. And you notice that I've got the information listed here. Now if I didn't want to show you that yet. If I have another one, I could simply add another one. Okay. Today. Let's go back in here. Oh. I think I need to hit, is it Shift, Alt, Control, Tab. No, I want to have, I apologize folks, I'm trying to get so I can add another instance in this story. I think it's like Control click or Alt click or something like that. I know it's there somewhere. Create new item. Maybe there we go. Alright, so we have that. So we could just add a new story, like this one will be I don't know, the Bright Cavern. Whoop. Didn't mean to hit that button. Cavern. So you can just continue adding stuff. So all this does is link to whatever else you have incorporated in your adventure. So when I click this button, you can see it brings up the town of Hillsfar. And we got chapter 1. So this is going to be chapter 1. And here's chapter 1. And all I have to do is click on chapter 1. And voila, it brings up another sheet. And this tells us, okay, here's chapter 1. The first session. This is what's going to happen. The characters investigate the outbreak of Eastling, arrive at the village, the adventurers find it in a grip of fear, the blah, 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 blah. There's an encounter there. I can actually go in and I can say, here's the encounter map. Map, right? And so what I have to do is I have to go to our images here, and I can say city, street, corner map. That's the map I want to use, so I just simply drag that over. And so now this has been linked, this encounter map has been linked to that image. So if I'm playing this, I can go back and I can look at chapter 1 and I can say, okay, good, alright, well, let's get our encounter map. So I just simply click on that and voila, here's our encounter map. Let's see, here's a street encounter. So I can click on that, and you can see I've already set this up, but I'll show you next time how we're doing this. Basically, this is our street encounter. It just has 2 bandit archers and 2 common bandits. When you're thinking, wow, I wonder if these guys are tough enough, all you have to do is come over here to that little box and click on it. Aha! Look at this. There's all the information about the bandit archers. Their armor class, their hit points, their powers, their what they can do, their skills, their alignment, any information you want about them. So they all link in together with what's going on. Maybe I want to have some to your death. Oops. So maybe I want to have this, but I want this to actually be, instead of a link, I want this to be a what is it called? Nope, I don't want that. I want that to be welcome to your death. I want that to be a chat frame. There we go. So I can take the text I'm inputting in here, unlike Roll20. I can take all the text and I can format it. I can make it chapter titles, I can make it links, I can do all sorts of fancy things with it. So whenever I get to this part of the encounter, this adventure, and I want the PC or the monsters to say certain things, all I have to do is type that in, and all I have to do is drag over this little chat box. Oops. This chat window, all I have to do is click it. There you go. That's all I have to do is just click it. I don't have to drag it anywhere. I can drag it, but I don't have to. Just click it. Welcome to your death. There you go. Very, very cool. Very powerful software. I will say that this isn't obviously as intuitive and easy as Roll20 is, because there's a lot more, I guess, to it. So it depends on your style and your thoughts about, do I want to just create something really easy? This system, Fantasy Grounds, does a wonderful job. I guess its strength right off the bat is how it manipulates all the data from the DDI for 4th edition and the other editions, linking everything together and cross-referencing it, etc., etc. And we're going to look at that more in the next episode, where we actually show you how to build a little encounter here and set things up for our little campaign. So this is our first look at Fantasy Grounds, and we'll pick it up in the next episode. So leave your thoughts, comments, suggestions below. Otherwise, we'll see you for the next video. Thanks for watching.